All right. Yes, I am. Welcome back to another video of the targeted program, Targeted Experience. This video is not about my targeting, but how far both political parties have become. How far left leaning, how far right leaning in the terms of extremism, and how both political parties have behaved. Because when the liberals are in power, when the conservative are in power, it used to be that they were more middle grounded. Okay, it used to be they were more middle grounded. But both parties, who are beholden to their corporate masters, and I keep saying how both these corporate masters, they play both political parties because they give money, donations to both political parties, right? So they're funding both sides. So it doesn't matter which political party is have won the presidency, the Congress, the Senate, right? The corporations, they they own the judicial branch with the conservative judges, as well as the some of the liberal judges. Okay, then you also have corporations, and particularly when it comes to the Israeli lobbyists. All right, they engage in crimes against the American public as well as elected officials by engaging in setups, frame-ups for blackmail, psychological manipulation. You know, they engage in running psychological operations. And if you guys do want to know about that, read about Michael Hastings in his expose of the military, particularly when it came to I think was it is it General Petraeus, all right, and him exposing General Petraeus, right? Also, the fact that the the military psyops division was instructed to run psychological operations on U.S. Politicians, right? Congressmen and congresswomen, senators, and so forth. And because of Michael Hastings' reporting, he was assassinated. Okay, make no mistake about that. So they have their ways of getting rid of the people who speak the truth, the people who's exposing their lies. And again, because they are in a position of power, they can set the narrative and they get away with most of the crimes, if not all of them, that they've been committed. All right. The reason why I'm showing you this video is that how both sides would lie, how both sides would lie against the other side, how they will use, uh, you know, so-called facts, but it's not really facts. It's just their political ideology is to demonize the other side. You know, and I keep saying, you know, the Republicans after Bush, with the invasion with the violation of people privacy, people's rights, torturing people, even though torture does not yield the outcome that they want, because people will say anything on the torture. But the fact that the American Psychological Association, right, would get involved in changing the criteria of what torture is to allow the Bush administration, Bush Junior administration, to engage in torturous acts, right? So that right there. And on top of that, they were so busy spending all this money on the war in Iraq, Afghanistan, the war in Northeast Africa, and around the world, that they allow the financial corporate their financial corporate masters, right, to engage in predatory practices towards people who want to buy homes, and that what caused the housing crash. So they had tremendous profit, but the cost of them having tremendous profit, the financial market, the housing market, was that it was only temporary, and eventually the market would crash. And they knew this, and they allowed it to happen under Bush. So this is why you see the blowback, in which you also had conservative voting for Obama, because that's why people are very retaliatory. You got to understand that they're very retaliatory, right? So when Obama and the Democrats with some Republican passed the Affordable Health Care Act, which was modeled off the Mitch Romney, he was the governor of Connecticut at the time. His, the Affordable Care Act is a Republican idea, but because Obama was a black man doing something for the American people, they had to demonize him, and they had to also demonize the Affordable Care Act. You understand that? Because when you do something good for the American people, they're going to demonize you. They're going to demonize you because the American people have been so dumbed down and so divided with cognitive warfare. This is why you see a lot of American businesses today, particularly farmers and stuff like that, are in big trouble because they cannot replace the workers that they used to have. Right? So now food is being ruined. Right? They can't sell their produce because there's not enough people. They can't sell the vast majority of their produce because the workers are not there. Okay? Look at how the American public blaming China for taking American job. And I'm saying, how are you blaming China for taking the American job when it was American corporation who went to China, right, to move their production plant to China because the labor was cheaper over there. But we're blaming China. It's like, I mean, like I said, the cognitive warfare in the American public is so good. And the reason why it's so good is because they've used black people as the group of people in America that they experiment on these things on, that they test these things out on. So this is how they become expertise in these things, right? So the far left and the far right blaming each other. There is no middle ground. The far left with their social ideological bullshit, particularly when it comes to trans people. And here's the thing. There would not have been as much pushback from the right if the far left have not let trans men and women, I should say trans women actually, into sports with biological women, born females. That is the one thing that they did that the vast majority of people in America, it doesn't matter what color, what you are, what ethnicity you are, disagree with. But the left, because of their delusion, because you see, eventually what's going to happen is that for both sides of the political spectrum, the left and the right, is that when they become extreme, not only do they have their voters having an extreme mindset in terms of their ideology, but the ones who's also created the ideology is even going to become more extreme because it's never going to be enough. They're going to keep saying, how far can we push this? Just as how you see Trump is doing right now. How far can we push what we're doing? Because eventually, right, the Christian right, as Chris Hedges said, these are, the word he used, heretics, right? He used the word heretics. Because they don't really believe in the Jesus being, the man who came to bring peace on earth, right? Again, they understand the esoteric meaning, some of the esoteric meaning, particularly the Jesus that said, I did not come to bring peace, but I came to bring war. I came to turn the house against each other. I came to turn mother against daughter, father against son, brother against sister, and so forth and so forth. That's the Jesus that they truly worship. But in public, they will talk about Jesus bring to peace, coming to bring peace, because they don't want what they're going to do to us being done to them when there's a flip in the in terms of the political party in rulership. Right? I understand what they're doing, and so what they are doing is that they have now know that they have overreach, and so now they cannot pull back. They cannot pull back because not only have they destroyed families, but they have also did things to where corporations like Hyundai or what have you is no longer willing to invest in America because of what it is that it did. Hyundai, what's the other one? Kia and all these other foreign brand vehicles, right? Manufacturers. So they know. So what they're doing now is that they have an isolationist mindset. Their thing by isolating America is good, and it's not. But again, that is the sick. That is their sickness. That is their sickness. We see what happens when when nations divert into isolation. You look at South Korea. You look at Nazi Germany at the time. Though that a nation that goes into isolation, particularly when it comes to the business aspect of it, that nation will fall. And because these people have a destructive mindset, and again, you got to go back to their history, right? Because they always talk about how mental illness is hereditary, right? But a lot of white Americans that came to this country, in a sense, that came over here from Britain, were the criminals, were the mentally ill, right? Those they let out the insane asylum. They shipped them here. They shipped them here, right? Despite that, the fact that even the so-called elites at the time had serious mental illness. Just if you read the book Dirt, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so if it's hereditary, yeah, this is the reason why they can do what they do. It's the reason why they don't have a tolerance. They don't have tolerance. I just talk about the white men who've been killing police officers like nothing lately. These are all white men killing multiple police officers. Okay, and these are far right thinking, leaning, believing individuals, not the left, right? But I want you to understand how when each side get into position of power, they will set terms. They will accuse the other of being extreme and this and that when both sides are extreme. So like I said, we need to stop voting for these. We need to get off these two party plantation. There's the third party. There's the Green Party. People need to start looking at Green Party candidates who have pledged not to take funding from corporate donors, right? So taking that stand, taking money out of politics. So there should be a shift in our thinking, right? Because if we continue to back both political parties in their most extreme form, we're only hurting ourselves. See, the wealthy, they'll be fine. The upper middle class, the millionaires, the billionaires, they'll be fine. It is the vast majority of people in America that are going to have extreme hardship. They've planned this, both sides, okay? Both sides. Because remember, it is the technocrats, the oligarchs, that are in true positions of power. All right, now I'm just going to play a little bit of clip of this.
While our side of the aisle certainly has its crazies, it is a statistical fact that most of the lunatics in American politics today are proud members of the far left. So when you see...
Now, I want you to listen to what he says. He says most of the lunatics, right? So if you understand the definition of a lunatic, This is the most striking, the most dangerous kind of insult and dehumanization that you can label a person or a group of people. All right? And they have no problems using words like that. They have, because both sides are being led and controlled by the lunatic fringe of the lunatic fringe, as Alda would say, the TI from California, right? Both sides are being led by the lunatic fringe of the lunatic fringe. All right? So, again, understand this stuff. Listen, because what they are doing is bringing chaos, right? Because for them, out of the ashes of chaos will be a new world that they are going to create in their image, right? It's like the flood, right? God was so disappointed with human beings that he did what? Kill all of them, right? Kill all the human beings except for a selected few, in which they rebuild a new world, right? And because it was so destructive, God said, you know what, I'm never going to do this again, right? But he already did it, right? These people are have that same mindset. They have that same mindset. And both sides are to blame. Liberal, with the delusion, creating the delusional mindset within the Liberal Party, the Democratic Party, within its voters, within their voters, lying to their voters, particularly for the black population, particularly to black women, lying to them, giving them an inflated ego, giving them the psychosis within the society in which they can control, they can make them believe whatever it is that they want, and they will get on television, get on social media, and repeat the lies, right? And then you have also media perpetrating the programming, the lies, the deception, the manipulation. This is what they've been doing. Okay? Both sides have their racist ideology. They have their own agenda. And it's not for the vast majority of people in America. It is for the wealthy. It is for those that, again, when I talk about police officers and how they don't want educated police officers, there's a reason why they don't want educated police officers. Okay? Because you will have a better police force. You will have a police force that's going to question things that when they violate your rights, that police officer will say, hold up, man, you cannot do that. You're violating his rights. You're supposed to know the law. They don't want good policing. They want bad policing. Because why? Because the system is predicated on exploitation. And who do they exploit the most? Poor people. That's poor whites, poor blacks, poor Hispanic people, right? Or whoever else that's poor, right? But also specifically black people also. Specifically. Okay, and they do it in many ways. From music, you don't see Hispanic Latin music being, Latin artists being exploited the way black artists are being exploited. And the R&B music that we used to have, right, that talk about loving each other, and men are singing about loving their women are singing about loving their men. They stopped all of that. They got rid of all of that. Right? You look, and then the use of young black males, right, changing I should say, getting rid of the balance of music that we used to have in early hip hop to a more negative tone. Then it goes into this negative party type thing, and now you see the women hip hop artists are engaging in some of the most, to me, shocking lyrical content that the men wouldn't even engage in. You know what I'm saying? And that's promoted, that's celebrated. And when you see a Democratic president and vice president inviting Meg Thee Stallion, Sexy Red, Cardi B, and putting them up as if they're supposed to be the image in which black women, young black girls should look up to. Black people, you should tell you that the Democratic Party is not for your asses either. Right? But we love the foolery because they've made us boo-boo the clowns. So we have no common sense. Right? And then on the far right, the whole religious ideology, and listen, they have every right to be upset about having their daughters play in the sports where men are allowed to play, and just because those men have been taking hormones and had surgery to physically make themselves look like women, right? And then creating all this fake science behind it. So the right has an absolute legitimate reason to be angry. Shit, I'm not right wing, but I'm angry. I'm more liberal than anything else, but I'm a liberal with common sense. And you look at how and both sides are trying to gut education because they don't want black people, they don't want Hispanic people to be educated. And the left is pushing the lies about black women being the most educated. And that's a lie. You can go and look at the statistics from the education department to see that no, it is white women who are the most educated, right, per their population, and it is Asian women who earns also more bachelor's degree, more master's degree. Okay, but when it comes to black women, the statistic and comparison is to that of black men, not of white women, not of Asian women. Okay, it is black men. Yes, they're more educated than black men because more of them enroll in school. But guess what? Black men coming out of college earn more than them. Okay? Black men have more successful business than them. But the left lies to black women because they understand how to manipulate the minds of our women and to give them an egotistical mindset, to break up the relationship between black men and black women and black family. That's the left doing that, not the right. The left. So again, we need to get off these two political parties' plantation. Right? Or at least elect candidates who will not be controlled by corporate America, who will not be controlled by the Israeli lobbyists. And it's a hard thing to do because what we should do as a group of people, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, or have you, is that when there's a political candidate that's running for office that is, and again, we should stop voting for these millionaires and billionaires. Stop voting for these people. Okay? Get somebody within your own community, right? And then need to educate them, right? And offer them some form of guidance, right? Put people around them, okay, that will tell them the right thing, the do's and the don'ts, because they're being set up all the damn time. This is what we have to do. We have to start protecting the people who want to do good for us when they enter politics. And understand nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. But we will vote for these white wealthy politicians who are the most corrupt, right? But then the person in your community who, as a young person, may have gotten in trouble with the law, you don't even know the circumstance, right? And we won't even give them a chance. But we will vote for the most sociopathic, psychopathic people because they have money, right? This is the society we're living in today. And the sad thing about it is that the poorest people are the ones that are worshiping the wealthiest people who's doing nothing for them. Come on now. Get your head out the clouds. Start thinking. Stop believing. All right. Talk to you guys in the next video.